In the second half of June, media worldwide were following the dramatic rescue operation of the missing submarine Titan. Titan belonged to the OceanGate company and set out on Sunday from St. John's with 5 people on board to reach the wreck of the Titanic, located nearly 600 kilometers off the coast of Canada at a depth of almost 3,800 meters. However, after less than 2 hours of submersion, contact was lost with the submarine. Unfortunately, after 5 days, we received tragic news. The remains of the Titan were found on the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. It's known that an implosion occurred, which, in a fraction of a second, claimed the lives of the entire crew. In the tragedy, we lost OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush. We also lost one of the wealthiest Pakistanis, Shahzad Dawood, along with his 19-year-old son, Suleiman. Among the lost was British billionaire and adventurer Hamish Harding. Also on board was French diver Paul-Henri Nargeolet. As a result of this incident, it triggered a wave of questions regarding the safety of journeys into the deep sea. As explained by experts, the submarine in which 5 people were traveling experienced an implosion. An implosion can be envisioned as the opposite of an explosion. During an explosion, there's the high pressure inside pushing everything out. Whereas during an implosion, it's the exact opposite. There's high external pressure causing the submarine to collapse inward. It's worth noting that at a depth of approximately 4 kilometers where the Titanic wreck is located, the pressure is enormous, around 400 atmospheres. For comparison, the pressure in car tires is 2 to 8 atmospheres. This pressure exerts immense force on every square centimeter of the vehicle, but if the machine is properly constructed, these forces should be balanced. However, at the moment something fails, whether it's a crack, a gap, or a structural weakness, anything, like a house of cards, it's going to simply collapse in a matter of microseconds, and some even claim it's a shorter time than that, to the magnitude of nanoseconds. Regardless of how you measure that time, in a fraction of a second, everybody was lost. A video has appeared on YouTube that's been viewed by over 5 million people in 2 weeks. The animated film demonstrates what the catastrophic implosion of the submarine Titan looked like, which sank down during a trip to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. The New York Post reports that the animation was created using open-source software called Blender. To create it, information available on the OceanGate website and online was utilized, which was then processed in 3D modeling software. The entire process took about 12 hours. Shortly after the wreckage was found, new shocking information about all the shortcomings that could have caused this catastrophe began to emerge on the internet. Typically, each submarine is built in the shape of a sphere, a titanium sphere, which is incredibly resistant and best suited to withstand the pressure of water. However, Mr. Rush cut his sphere in half and inserted a cylinder between these hemispheres to accommodate passengers. This modification allowed for up to 4 passengers instead of just 1 or 2, each paying $250,000 as explained by the expert. But that's not all, because with each passing day, even more shocking news was coming to light. The American portal, the New York Post, reports that the founder and CEO of OceanGate, Stockton Rush, hired interns to design the electrical system for the underwater vessel Titan. Rush, who allegedly ignored safety warnings while charging wealthy tourists $250,000 for diving to the Titanic wreck, employed students from Washington State University to work on critical systems, as reported by The New Yorker. American media also obtained an interview given to the Washington State University's newspaper by one of the students, Mark Walsh. From the conversation, it appears that interns were involved in the construction of the Titan. The entire electrical system was our project. We implemented it and it's functional. We're on the verge of making history and all of our systems are up to Titanic standards. It's incredible, said Walsh. The interview dates back to 2018. Also, as far has been determined, the head of OceanGate, Stockton Rush, reportedly ignored warnings from experts who were alerting him that the journey to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean aboard the Titan was dangerous. The media also reported that the submarine was being controlled using a video game controller. And all of these pieces of information are just the tip of the iceberg because there were many more controversies. However, before we tell you all about that, we'd like to remind you to take a second and like and subscribe to our channel, as it really does help us out. It helps us get our content out there. Thanks to everybody for your support, and now we'll get back on track. Okay, so Spanish underwater technology specialist Jose Luis Martin has rekindled the case. In an interview with the newspaper Nias, he stated that the Titan's passengers were aware of the impending disaster of the submarine. As the submarine descended, according to the specialist, for about 900 meters, the hull had to undergo a sudden increase in pressure, leading to a powerful crushing of the outer part of the vessel. Martin suggests that the slow descent of the submarine lasted from 48 to 71 seconds, and the passengers were aware of what was happening. Due to the abrupt loss of control and the high descent speed to the bottom, individuals inside the submarine would have been pushed to the end of the machine and compressed one on top of the other. Just imagine the horror, the fear, the agony. It must have been terrifying. It's hard to imagine what they went through in that final minute. Fortunately, the implosion itself was painless. It was an instant, lightning-fast death, added the expert. Thanks to certain sources, we're able to recreate how the final moments of the Titan's passengers looked. Due to the need to conserve battery power for the spotlights, all the lights on board the Titan were turned off. The passengers immersed themselves in the depths of the ocean in complete darkness, listening to a playlist of their favorite songs. Outside the submarine's windows, they could only see bioluminescent marine creatures. British billionaire and adventurer Hamish Harding was involved in business in the aviation industry and was a well-known explorer and adventurer. He had taken a commercial flight to space, held 3 Guinness World Records, including the longest time spent in the deepest part of the world's oceans, the Mariana Trench, and had also traveled multiple times to the South Pole. Paul Henry Nargeolet was a French diver and one of the world's leading experts on the Titanic disaster. He spent 25 years in the French Navy. Shahzada Dawood and his son Suleiman came from one of the wealthiest Pakistani families. And Stockton Rush was the co-founder of OceanGate. The gravity of the situation is further highlighted by the fact that this is not the first such mishap for OceanGate. Bill Price, an adventurer from California, told the Los Angeles Times that 2 years ago he embarked on a submarine expedition during which the Titan lost communication with the mothership after an hour. Shortly thereafter, the crew realized there was an issue with the mechanism that releases the ballast from the submarine, allowing it to resurface. Despite the difficulties, they managed to surface, but subsequent passengers did not, and it's clear that this tragedy could have been prevented. So hey everyone, if you enjoy our content and want to watch similar videos to this one, go ahead and click here to see our previous episode. And as always, thank you very much for choosing to spend your time with us today. We'll see you in our next video.